It scares me to hear that he will no longer be running the typical NBA owner playbook. That's not how I would describe Mat Ishbia's tenure. Then there's some stuff that people were not too thrilled about. So, to put the Michigan State stuff out there, despite their shared background, Mat Ishbia and Jordan Ott, this was the first time, the interview this week was the first time that Mat Ishbia met Jordan Ott. Of course, they confirmed that he was impressed by Jordan Ott, but this is where people start pressing a little bit of a panic button, Stephen. According to another source, Ishbia emailed the Suns basketball operations team internally on Wednesday, taking accountability for not doing enough to establish a culture and identity in Phoenix. The Suns owner stated that he tried, quote, running the typical NBA owner playbook of hiring experts, signing checks, and getting out of the way, but no one was happy with the outcome. Now, despite insisting that he's not reviewing film, designing offenses, or running the draft room, Ishbia intends to be, quote, extremely active in the decisions and management, end quote. He acknowledged his more unconventional approach to as an owner to ensure the Suns get back to the requisite level of winning that's been absent for the last few years. My first thought was, he signed the checks and got out of the way?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. That's probably a whole podcast in and of itself, if I'm being honest. What I will say though, I like that there's active reassessing and adjusting to what clearly did not work to the extent that it may have been desired to. I'm all for people shifting and trying things, and if they don't work, having enough humility and being able to put their pride aside to at least think and try and attempt to approach a new way to go about doing the job. That's how good turns to great. That's how bad turns to okay. Okay goes up the ladder as well. So if indeed it is true, then that's a great step in the right direction.
Well, I don't know. I'm torn on this, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, diagnosing that something was wrong is right. Like, there was something wrong, and Mat Ishbia wanting to establish a culture, that's great. Hard workers, that's great. People who are going to be, first in the gym, last out type of people in the organization. You want that. It scares me to hear that he will no longer be running the typical NBA owner playbook. That's not how I would describe Mat Ishbia's tenure. For good and for bad. Most owners don't come in and say, we're going to spend this amount of money. Yeah, a lot of them come in and have new owner syndrome and, try to make a big move, but very few challenge the CBA. Very few do big three conglomeration right after buying the team. And I don't know how you can say that when you had the sale go through and then the next day, basically Kevin Durant gets traded to the Suns. How is that? Oh, I let the basketball people do the basketball decisions.
Yeah,
it's a little concerning about the future. I hope it works out. I know that things have to be different, but I don't blame fans, and even for myself, to see the words extremely active in decisions and management and not get a little upset and worried about it.
There's a lot of atypical instances popping up over the last year and some change now with the Suns. And I think the first indicator of that is the severe underwhelming nature of both teams from each of the past two seasons. And like I mentioned before, that's not something that's only coming from the on-court. That's permeating to other factions of the franchise right now. And I feel like this is a 5-alarm kind of assessing of everything and kind of setting a new type of tone. But again, like I mentioned with Coach Ott, all of these things sound great. They sound sensational. What does the execution look like?
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm fine with Mat Ishbia being more involved and extremely active in decisions and management if it does get you back to the requisite level of winning. I guess from my perspective, I felt like he was more involved, and so it's a little bit worrying for him to say, I want to be more involved. I want to accelerate this process. So it's like, how are we doing that, right? How are you being more involved? Is it by hiring your guys, the Michigan State guys, the Brian Gregorys and the Jordan Otts? Is it literally being in decision-making rooms when those things were happening? Like, I know that we're not going to be able to get the inside scoop on what's going on there, but if you lay out the track of things, right? So Mat Ishbia is the owner, governor of the team, right? Mat Ishbia brought Josh Bartelstein, a Michigan guy, right? Went to Michigan, but was also working with the Pistons, from that area, the area that Mat Ishbia knows and quite clearly loves. That's his number 2 in command, right? The number 2 in command stays in command after a poor couple of seasons. Then it's like, okay, let's hire somebody else. Let's go for an external hire. Oh, well, I'm going to hire my old coaching friend from MSU who doesn't have any experience being a general manager and barely any being in the front office. Okay, that is now the second or third in command. What about the next rung, the next step? Well, I'm hiring somebody who maybe I haven't met, but Tom Izzo has met, is a Michigan State guy, and is a first-time coach who, again, doesn't have experience being a head coach. Now, much more experience than Gregory for his requisite role, but still not somebody who goes in and puts the rings on the table like Pat Riley, right? Then this comes out of him saying, I'm not running the typical NBA owner playbook, and I'm not getting out of the way anymore. I'm going to actually be more involved. I've hired my friends or people that I have close ties to. I'm now going to be more involved. And if it works out, it works out. But how often do we see owners take on more responsibility than just be owners and it works out? Early Cowboys, Jerry Jones, because they were winning, and since then they've been crap. Like, is that really it? Because I can't think of an actual example of this type of stuff that ends up working out well.
Yeah, the prospects of situations where an owner has been more involved than others has not typically resulted in winning at the highest level, at least. And that transcends across multiple sports, to your point. So I definitely understand the optics of that and what that could look like. But at the same time, we also heard Brian Gregory say that Matt firmly trusts him to do his job, and that he only answers to Matt, but Matt's put him in place to do his job.
But
so
he still answers to Matt, right?
I don't want to say it's contradictory because I don't think they're talking over one another, but it doesn't feel, since that statement's come to the surface, it doesn't feel as aligned as things maybe were prior to.
I am skeptical about what the future of that front office and that franchise is going to be. And again, I think Jordan Ott's in a bad position. And if you tuned into our show earlier, I appreciate that. If you haven't, I would highly recommend about an hour straight, no commercials, just talking ball. Okay, just talking Jordan Ott. I think he's being put in a pretty tough situation, not just from an expectation standpoint, but also, because of the ties that he has to Michigan State and the people who have made this decision. Highly recommend going and checking out Gerald's article over at gophnx.com. Again, he put in a ton of work while he was out on paternity leave, so you definitely want to help him out with that.
We all silly like the mayor.